Hello, good morning. This is Group 1 Activity Report. And now, we are going to give the report about the United Nations and the contemporary world. The United Nations, particularly informally also referred to as the United Nations Organizations, is an intergovernmental organization whose stated purposes are to maintain the actions of nations, maintain international peace and security, develop friendly relations among nations, achieve international cooperations, and be a center for harmonizing the actions of nations. It is the world's largest and most familiar international organizations. There are 193 member states of the United Nations, founded in 1945. The United Nations are the organizational body to be discussed by Mr. Adrian Garcia.
General Assembly. The General Assembly is the main deliberative, policy-making, and representative organ of the UN. All 193 members states of the UN are represented in the General Assembly, making it the only UN body with universal representation. Each year, in September, the full UN membership meets in the General Assembly hall in New York for the annual General Assembly session and general debate, which many heads of state attend and address decisions on important questions such as those on peace and security, admission of new members, and budgetary matters require a two-thirds majority of the General Assembly. Decisions on other questions are by simple majority. The General Assembly each year elects a GA President to serve a one-year term of office.
Security Council. The Security Council has primary responsibility under the UN chapter for the maintenance of international peace and security. It has 15 members, 5 permanent and 10 non-permanent members. Each the members has one vote under the chapter. All members state obligated to comply with council decision. The Security Council takes the lead in determining the extent of the threat of the peace act of aggression. It calls upon the parties to the dispute to settle in the peaceful means the recommend methods of adjustment or terms of a settlement.
Subsidiary organs in the UN Security Council. Under Article 29 of the Charter of the United Nations, the Security Council established such subsidiary organs as it deems necessary for the performance of its function. Here are the following commissions and investigation bodies, sanctions and other committees, standing and ad hoc committees, groups and panels, international tribunals, mission of the Security Council and the Secretary General, the Peace Building Commission, peacekeeping missions, political missions and offices, representative mediators, coordinators, and good offices, other material and subsidiary organs.
Economic and Social Council. The Economic Social Council is the principal body for coordination policy review, policy dialogue and recommendation on economic, social, and environmental issues, as well as implementation of internationally agreed development goals. It serves as the central mechanism for activities of the UN system and is a specialized agency in the economic, social, and environmental fields, supervising subsidiary and expert body.
Morning, sir.
Trusteeship
The
Council.
Trusteeship Council was established in 1914 by the under characters under the chapter originate to provide international supervision for the terrorists that been placed or under the administration of 7 members states. The ensure the steps were the takings to prepare the terrorists for the self-government, the independence. By 1994, all terrorists had attended self-governmental independence. The Terrorist Council suspended operation on November 1, 1994 by resolution and adopted on 24 May 1994, and Council admin its roles in production to drop in or obligation and actually agreement is required by the discretion of its president or the request of majority of its member or the General Assembly or the Secretary Council.
And also, the Trusteeship Council suspended operations on November 1, 1994 by a resolution adopted on 25th of May 1994. The Council amended its rule of procedure to drop the obligations to meet annually and agreed to meet as occasion required by its decision or the decision of President or at the request of a majority of its members or the General Assembly or the Security Council. And now let's go to International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. Is it at the Peace Palace in Hague, in Netherlands? It is the only one of the 6 principal organs of the United Nations not located in New York, United States of America. The court's rule is to settle, in accordance with international law, legal disputes submitted to by each states and to give advisory opinions on legal questions referred to it by authorized United Nations organs and specialized agencies. Renders judgment by relative majority. Its 15 judges are elected by the UN General Assembly for 9-year terms. And did you know that in 1960s, Filipino diplomat Salvador Lopez was the chairman of UN Commission on Human Rights? Let's go now to the last organ body of the United Nations, Secretariat. The Secretariat comprises the Secretary General and tens of thousands of international UN staff members who carry out the day-to-day work of the UN as mandated by the General Assembly and the organization's other principal organs. The Secretary General is Chief of Administrative Officer of the organization, appointed by the General Assembly on the recommendation of the Security Council for 5 years. Renewable term. UN staff members are recruited internationally and locally and work in duty stations and on peacekeeping missions all around the world. But serving the cause of the peace in a violent world is a dangerous occupation. Since the founding of the United Nations, hundreds of brave men and women have given their lives in its service. What are the challenges of the United Nations? These are: first is, the UN is not a world government. It is in its function primarily because of voluntary cooperation from states. Second, if states refuse to cooperate, the influence of the UN can be severely circumscribed. The third one is, issue of a security, as mentioned, the UN Security Council is tasked with authorizing international acts of military intervention. But because of the P5's veto power, it is tough for the Council to release a formal resolution. Together with my co-reporter, Adrian Garcia, Patricia Mensurado, Rebecca Tan, Lisa Ortia, Myla Verano, and I am Mario Francisco Jr. This is Group 1 Activity Report, the United Nations in the Contemporary World. Thank you for listening.